again, ni weekend imefika, tuambie mko wapi, South Africa na avoid you guys. Karibuni sana.
Do that again.
Imeanza.
Ni weekend imefika, tunakwenda kujirusha. Karibu sana hapa Morning Cafe. Hii ni tarehe 7 mwezi wa 3 mwaka 2025. Jina langu ni Freddy Ndimuli. This is the Morning Cafe. Karibu sana.
And my name is Ann Odida Twendekazi. We start off with the Taifa Leo, and the headline there is Nipeni Urais Muone. And who is saying that?
Try me.
Chief Justice, former Chief Justice, David Maraga.
Try me and see. Rewarding yes men. The Standard continues with this hard-hitting 2-3 word headlines, and I think they're really doing well.
The Star, yet another handshake.
A Ruto
50-50.
And you know what? There are sources that are saying that this agreement could actually be made public today.
Oh, wow.
So it is a big day today for this. Yes. Two set to sign coalition agreement today. Yes.
All right. People Daily.
MPs push for more school fees burden. We'll be back to take a look at what exactly they're talking about.
Daily Nation, how governors burnt 6.6 billion shillings on joyrides.
It's a kidogo tu hapo. Only 6.6 billion.
Yep.
And Matters Business revealed the silent tycoons behind troubled cereals firm. That's a Business Daily.
All right, we'll be back to take a look at the local dailies.
Today being a Friday, we'll be having the Youth Perspective starting at 6:30 a.m. We'll be having this panelists in studio. Saddam Gashie is the SG Progressive Plus Alliance. Miriam Katheu, a youth advocate. Kabala Kile, National Deputy Chairperson, People's Liberation Party, the one that was launched last week.
Yeah.
And Ken Babu, National Youth League President, Democratic Action Party Kenya, also known as DAP-K. Do stand by for that starting at 6:30.
Absolutely. Let's cross over to the regional dailies, and we start off in Uganda. The Daily Monitor. Museveni names team to investigate Kisaki. And tribunal that they now exile Justice Esther Kisaki and the judiciary have an axe to grind is public knowledge since the presidential election petition in 2021. And now President Museveni has named a team to separate facts from fiction. There's a panel here for that. We see Justice Galdin, Justice who is this? Tumwesige, and others.
All right. And this is interesting that this judge is actually in exile, but there's now a tribunal to investigate her conduct stemming from the 2021 elections.
Uncovering the torture of the National Unity Platform, party supporters in Kawempe, and by-election there will be a by-election on Monday. Cocktail of security operations brutalized supporters of National Unity Platform Party ahead of campaigns in Kawempe North. The marks are there on pages 4 and 5. Is this the protests that were there in Kawempe on Monday? Yes, over the NUP. Kule chini, Kawanda Road death toll rises to 7. That story is on page 2. And what next as Mubaje clocks retirement age? That's a question there on page 12.
There's a story here. Uganda businesses hurt as 6 DRC border points are closed. So the Congo crisis continues and it's affecting Uganda. 6 border points have been closed, meaning that there's no inter-border trade.
That's the Daily Monitor.
Still in Uganda, we take a look at the new vision. 100 convicted over undeclared wealth. Errant officials sentenced to fines and demotions. Full list inside page 3 of this paper. And this is something very interesting. If only it could happen in Kenya. Ukidanganya ama ukose kudeclare wealth and you're a senior state or government official, you're sentenced. 100 of them. And the full list is inside this paper. Paliju, women's problems get a luring beat. Of course, tomorrow being the International Women's Day, mambo inaendelea kuchemka. There's a very interesting story here. General Muhoozi has met the Kenyan envoy. Unajua ni kwa nini?
Kwa nini?
Ile headline ya Standard ilisema 4-star brat. Yes. So the ambassador to Kenya, the Kenyan ambassador in Uganda has met the chief of defense forces there, General Muhoozi Kainerugaba. Aliambiwa yeye is a 4-star brat.
Yes.
Kakasirika sana. Kasema atakuja Nairobi. Sasa nafikiri wameenda kumtuliza, waambia usikue na nini. Tuliza.
Kwani ameogopa?
Ni kama ameogopa. Thank you for saving my life, Museveni tells Mrs. Kategaya. Remember yesterday they were saying, the headline was reading when Museveni was detained for 2 weeks.
2 weeks, yes.
Yeah. So it's in this book that was launched, and the president was there, and actually thanked Eria Katigara. Interesting.
All right. Let's cross over to Tanzania. We start off with the Citizen. Why the shilling's rally against dollar was short-lived. And the Bank of Tanzania has attributed the depreciation to, among other factors, higher demand for US dollars occasioned by increased imports. Now, this amount here, is it 2 million? Right, this amount is the local currency closed February 2024 at a mean rate of...
They're saying
yes,
the Tanzanian shilling, this is how it matches to the dollar. 2,611, up to 129.
129.
The Kenyan shilling is selling at 129 to the dollar. In Tanzania, the Tanzanian shilling, $1 can buy 2,611 shillings of Tanzanian money.
All right.
Ukiwa na dola moja uko na elfu kadhaa.
The Tanzania.
Unatembea na maelfu.
All right, that's what the story is about, why the shilling's rally against dollar was short-lived. And of course, they attribute it to high demand for US dollars occasioned by increased imports. Other top stories there. Experts bank on tech for sustainable East African oil gas exploration. Experts and researchers from East Africa have suggested how the region can tap into and sustain its oil and gas economy while protecting the environment and addressing the attendant health, safety, and social impacts. There's an energy conference going on in Tanzania. Sidhani kama imekwisha bado. That's what that's about. Kule juu, what's PBZ Stanbic 185 shillings billion loan to Zanzibar government means? That story is on page 3 of The Citizen.
All right. There's a lot of mention, a lot of purple on the front page.
Yes.
International Women's Day.
Yes, International Women's Day. That's The Citizen.
Tuangazie gazeti la Mwananchi kule Bongo bado. Habari kuu, waziri aliyevua cheo kutibu magonjwa. Akiwa daktari bingwa wa kwanza wa upasuaji wa mifupa nchini, aacha alama zisizofutika. Simulizi alivyomwokoa majeruhi aliyenasa kwenye treni. Huyu anaitwaje huyu? Anaitwa Professor Lawrence Mseru. Ndio huyu jamaa hapa. Ni waziri, lakini wakati mwingine anaenda anavaa koti ya daktari na anafanya upasuaji. Usioyajua ya Professor Sarungi. Ndio habari kuu kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Mwananchi. Vidokezo zaidi, upatu unavyozidi kuwa janga nchini, na Daktari Biteko kuanika fursa za wanawake pale chini. Nasema kiini makandarasi wageni kuchelewesha miradi. Ndizo habari zilizopewa kipaumbele kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa gazeti hili kule Tanzania.
We'll be back, of course, to take a look at the local dailies, but now let's take a look at the weather situation here we start off with this one.
Yes, yeah. So this today tumejaribu kuwapatia ile temperature map ya Africa just to see vile kunakaa. Asante. Lakini technology ni kama inaniletea shida pale. So today what we've done, because we hear there is a general heat wave across East African region. Yeah. So we've taken a look at the temperatures in Kampala, Uganda. In Kampala, it is 20 degrees Celsius as we speak. Quite hot, feels like 24 degrees. It will get as high as 31. Yes, but at least there's some precipitation in Kampala. Yeah. Yes. For the rest of the week, starting Sunday, we do expect thunderstorms and a bit of rainfall across next week, meaning in Uganda, hata kama kumekuwa na joto, it's a bit cloudy and the weather situation will improve. What about Dar es Salaam?
There is an excessive heat in Dar es Salaam as we speak. Lakini wanasema hapa, hii ni jua ama thunderstorms.
Kunanyesha?
It's 27 degrees as we speak. It feels like 30. Highs of course 31 degrees expected. Kuna precipitation hapa pia. Not so much sun,
yes.
Cloud cover.
So that's the irony about Dar es Salaam. Excessive heat, but it's actually raining even as we speak.
Oh, wow.
Yeah? So it's raining, but it's 27 degrees Celsius in Dar es Salaam. Let's come back home and take a look at like a place like Nyeri, for example. Nyeri, 14 degrees Celsius, quite normal, feels like 15. Partly cloudy today, highs of 27 degrees. Very comfortable weather there. Do expect some showers starting tomorrow, Saturday, and into next week. So Nyeri, that is very comfortable weather. Move to Kisumu.
It's 22 degrees, cooling expected over the next 3 days, but as we speak it feels like 25, highs of 33 degrees expected, sunny throughout the day.
But at least there's a promise that over the next 3 days it's going to cool off, and a bit of showers probably starting Sunday into next week, manyunyu hapa na pale.
Yeah.
Nakuru, another very dry area, 16 degrees Celsius, also same, clear with periodic clouds, cooling expected over the next 3 days as well. Highs of 31 degrees, this is very high for Nakuru. 31 degrees, watu wanaburn. But also same thing, cooling expected over the next 3 days, accompanied by some showers as well.
Mombasa, it's 27 degrees as we speak. It feels like 30. It's partly cloudy, but sunny throughout the day. Highs of 32 degrees expected. On Sunday, kutakuwa na showers kidogo.
Kwa hivyo hata Mombasa expect mvua kidogo. What about Nairobi? In Nairobi, it is 17 degrees Celsius. Same forecast that cooling is expected over the next 3 days. Today it will be partly cloudy. Some a bit of precipitation, but nothing much, nothing that we can actually feel. Highs of 29 degrees Celsius, meaning even today it will still be very hot. But over the next 3 days, we do expect some showers, which will help cool the heat. So ile heat wave watu wamekuwa kizungumzia over the next 3 days inaenda kuisha, which is something very nice. Asante sana. All right.
Hiyo ya technology umesema?
Hiyo ni kama, hebu tujaribu tuone kama imerudi.
All right.
Unajua it's taking, yes, you can see. Anywhere you see anything getting close to red means that the temperatures are very high. We cannot see that anywhere in Africa, so it's mid-level temperatures, around 30, 31 degrees as we speak, because this is live, it's a satellite image. So yes, areas around the Great Lakes region here, not so bad. Areas around South Sudan, kule joto inaanza kupanda mingi. But ukiona huku blue, areas around Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, those are cooler temperatures. And that is how the northern part of Africa is. Northern Sudan, areas like Libya, Morocco, it's Egypt, it's a blue right now. So it's much cooler than the southern part of the continent.
All right. 12 minutes past the top of the hour. Wacha tuangalie barabara kukoaje. Lighters.
So it is Friday, so it should be Friday traffic. Very comfortable traffic here. I can see Jogoo Road is building up slowly. Watu wajaamka mapema sana, so you can see bits of red and yellow at the usual spots, but nothing much. This is comfortable. If you're using Jogoo Road, you can do that. Even Kangundo Road, it's quite slow at this time of day. Pale further, as you go towards Donholm, pale kawaida, further pipeline, matatu zimejaa kwa barabara, which should be expected.
Hata Muthaiga iko sawa.
Muthaiga, yes. Pale Pangani interchange, it's looking good. But if you're using Outer Ring Road towards Allsops, towards Thika Road, pale ukiturn tu hivi after inaitwaje pale Kiamaiko, kuna ile turn inaenda hivi ndio ufike Allsops, there's a problem there. I think there's an incident, probably a vehicle has stalled, and you can see a stretch of red. If this persists, inaweza kuwa shida sana, especially for Outer Ring Road. To the other side of town, can see Ngong Road building up slowly. It's okay. Southern Bypass, there seems to be an incident pale as you go down Southern Bypass. Next, just before you get to the Langata, to the interchange with the Langata Road, you can see. This is on the left. Also, this is after you come from the Langata interchange into the Southern Bypass, heading towards Ngong Road. There's a problem there before you get to NHC houses. So if you can avoid that, probably some trailers and trucks are blocking the road there. The other major tributary is Wayakiwe, not so bad. So Friday traffic, lakini Southern Bypass ndo kuna shida pale. If you can avoid it, please do.
All right, that's the traffic situation. Let's take a look at the quote of the day. every opportunity you let slip by is one that can never be reclaimed. The true key to success lies in having the courage to try regardless of the result. Haya basi, tuangazie magazeti ya hapa. Magazeti, sio?
Magazeti ya hapa nyumbani.
Hapa nyumbani. Tunaanza na gazeti la Taifa Leo. Wanasema nipeni urais muone. Japo hajaamua kabisa, Maraga asema akipata fursa atanyoosha Kenya. Ni matamanio yake tu ya jaji mkuu wa zamani, akishutumu serikali ya Ruto, akisema ufisadi na utawala mbaya ndio tatizo kuu nchini humu. Habari hii katika ukurasa wa pili wa Taifa Leo. Wandani wa Ruto-Raila wamezea viti IEBC, na kwamba wandani wa Rais William Ruto ni miongoni mwa Wakenya 37 watakaoshindania nafasi ya mwenyekiti wa tume huru ya uchaguzi na mipaka IEBC, kulingana na orodha iliyochapishwa magazetini hapo jana. Wao ni aliyekuwa mwenyekiti wa kamati ya utekelezaji wa katiba CIC, that is Charles Nyachae, na mwenyekiti wa bodi ya wakurugenzi wa kampuni ya umeme KPLC Joy Brenda Masinde. Habari hiyo katika ukurasa wa pili. Nimeona pia Anna Amadi anawania hichi kiti. Vilevile siasa bado, mapinduzi ya Ruto-Raila bungeni, wandani wa Gachagua kufurushwa, huku ODM wakitarajiwa kuvuna pakubwa. Habari zinginezo, habari njema kwa wakuzaji wa kahawa. Naibu wa Rais Kithure Kindiki awaahidi wakulima mapato bora kutokana na mipango bora ya serikali. Vilevile EU tayari kusaidia Ukraine. Habari hiyo iko katika ukurasa wa 8. Kule juu, Raila kimya kuhusu azma ya Matiang'i, akataa kutoa kauli iwapo atamuunga waziri wa zamani au la. Anawania pia ama vipi? Katika habari za sporti, Liverpool wauma PSG kimuujiza. Wenyeji PSG waliutawala mchezo, ila defensi ya Reds ikawalemea. Taifa Leo hiyo.
Tuangazie gazeti la The Standard, and The Standard continues with its striking 2-3 word headlines, and today it reads, rewarding yes men. After a bloodbath on the government side in Parliament, President William Ruto and opposition leader Raila Odinga have chosen to elevate their homeboys at the expense of dissenters. The loyalist MPs will now chair and sit in lucrative committees, with opposers confined to members in nondescript units. So those pro-system who have now been elevated to chairs of these prestigious committees include Oburu Odinga, who will now chair the Energy Committee, Mohamed Faki, the Lands and Environment Committee in the Senate, Senator Jones Mwaruma, Trade, Lego Usonga MP, Budget and Appropriations Committee. That one is a big one.
Yes.
And James Nyikal, the Health Committee. Incidentally, James Nyikal has also been mentioned or touted as one of the people who could possibly take over the health ministry, if at all. Once kutafanyika reshuffle. Those who are pro-people and have lost their seats in Parliament include Ndindi Nyoro, who lost the Budget Committee, Peter Salasya alikataa kupiga kura. Moved to the members, alimuviwa to agriculture, member services from agriculture. Member services inashughulikia tu chai na mikate ya wabunge. Timothy Toroitich, who also refused to back the impeachment of Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, has been moved to the Parliamentary Library Committee. Kwanza inaitwa Broadcast and Library Committee. Lenko Seki moved to Senate Trade Committee, and James Gakuya, Trade Investments Committee Chair. He lost that seat. So did Gathoni wa Mushomba, who lost the seat as CIOC Committee Chair. That story is on page 4 of this paper. You can read more on the same. Pale juu, experts differ on grade 9 careers. Junior secondary school learners face a tough work path decision in a few months, with some saying they are not ready. And on the IEBC story, familiar names seek to replace Chebukati, who will be buried tomorrow. And people want his job immediately. Yes, so other quick stories. Inside page 3 of the Standard, journalist Dollar gets early release from jail. This is a story from he has spent 9 years in prison for killing his wife, Sarah Wambui Kabiru, who was a journalist. He was freed yesterday after spending time in prison. And those are the stories on the Standard today.
All right. The Star, yet another handshake. Ruto-Raila 50-50%. Tunaona pale the famous handshake. The one hiyo ambayo unapenda sana. Tuangazie tu anasema nini humu ndani. President William Ruto and opposition chief Raila Odinga are today expected to formalize their political marriage in a deal that will hand ODM a near equal share of government. Now, this newspaper has established that the two leaders are set to sign a coalition agreement today, effectively removing ODM from the opposition and ending speculations that Raila could join the ruthless campaign to make Ruto a one-term president. Now, interestingly, the deal will be signed publicly at the KICC. We have a quote here by Victor Marende. Okay, there's something else. The political union is expected to immediately trigger political realignments with the friendly fire between a section of opposition bigwigs and Raila expected to end, Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka and former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, who have been pleading with Raila to join them. Now, have their work cut out, with the former premier also becoming a part of their political enemy. Victor Marende is quoted here saying, "We call upon people and regions that have never supported Raila Odinga in the past to leave him alone. We refuse the frequent attempts to use Mr. Odinga and his support base as some ladder." Other stories there, the heart that heals a woman's fight for widows' dignity welfare, Martyrs International Women's Day there. Engineer turns love for farming of dragon fruit into great riches. Fruit ni tamu sana. If you can get it, we've covered it here. Morning Cafe, our Agri-Talk segment. This story is on page 17. There's a siasa pull out there. Is Kalonzo the man to beat Ruto in 2027 election? And that story is on page 2 and 3. Still matters IEBC. Amadi Nyachai among big names eyeing IEBC seat. That story is on page 8 of this Star newspaper. Fresh, independent and different. And that's the Star.
All right. On the People Daily, MPs push for more school fees burden. On matters education, House team proposes that head teachers be allowed to charge extra levies from parents to cater for government capitation shortfall. Of course, this debate about how expensive it is to ensure one learner goes through school from January till December. One academic year continues. Now MPs appear to be agreeing with the head teachers that it's whatever the government is giving is too little. The government gives about capitation of about 22,000. That's the recommended one. Government only gives about 14,000. Yeah, but the recommended is 22. They never get to the 22, but head teachers are saying even the 22,000 is not enough. We need at least 28,000 for one learner.
Ile 48 ilikuwa ya nini?
That was 48 billion. That was cumulative.
The ones that are not paid yet.
Cumulative capitation to all schools. So when you decide to actually break it down to one single learner, it comes down to that. So that story is on page 4. You can read more about it. Maraga, here he's speaking about something different, the petition to remove his successor. Petition to remove Kome, a mischievous act, says former Chief Justice David Maraga. On matters election and IEBC, Nyachaya, Amadi and Oswago battle for IEBC chairperson. Oswago, interestingly, was a CEO of IEBC a few years back. Paleju, experts warn of deaths due to heat waves. Yes, we've been talking about this, but weather forecasters also predict that we should expect a cooling of temperatures in the next 3 days. And as we've seen in the forecast, quite a number of areas across Kenya and even in neighboring countries will be receiving rainfall starting this weekend.
Yeah. Do you know people with spinal cord injuries are not sweating? So they are really shutting down during this period. shutting down completely.
If your spinal cord is injured, you cannot sweat.
You cannot sweat.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Hata ukichomeka na jua you cannot sweat.
You can't.
Wow. Interesting.
All right. Daily Nation. Do you have? All right, here it is. How governors burnt 6.6 billion shillings on joyrides. Wameanikwa hapa. Extravagance, 10 counties had the most traveling delegations, collectively spending 2.4 billion Kenyan shillings. Wavinya deity of Machakos County, 372.9 million Kenyan shillings. Nairobi's Johnson Sakaja, 369.03 million shillings. Julius Malombe of Kitui, 315.3 million. Moses Kiarie Nyandarua, 223.1 million shillings. And Joseph Olelenku Kajiado, 217 million Kenyan shillings. Governors ambao wana joyride. European capitals, Dubai and Singapore, the preferred destinations as county officials spent billions globetrotting at a time the devolved governments have refused to improve pay for health workers, citing scarce resources. Now, the officials incurred the expenditure in 6 months to December 31st to fund junkets like watching the Olympics in Paris and participating in conferences on firefighting and pyrethrum revival in the United Kingdom.
Pyrethrum revival and firefighting. 6.6 billion shillings. Meanwhile, the main service that they should be giving people, that's health services, hiyo imekuwa ngumu.
Yeah. This story is on page 4 to 5 of the Daily Nation. Other stories there, which way Raila and ODM leader Raila Odinga yesterday concluded his countrywide consultations on a pact with President William Ruto, of course, which could inform his stand on the 2027 general election. Today, tunangotegea pia sisi the speech, the joint speech at KICC. Judiciary lobby back CJ Koome, top judges fight against JSC, yes. Katiba Institute urges court not to consider complaints against judges without first enacting the rules of procedure to govern disciplinary proceedings. And in education there, we see chalks replace bullets in North Rift as schools become peace beacons. This is very good news. Watu wa North Rift wameteseka sana. David Maraga bado amepewa kipaumbele hapa. This is how I would govern differently if given a chance, of course, to lead the nation. And that's the Daily Nation.
All right. We move on to Business Daily. Revealed.
The silent tycoons.
So they say embattled breakfast cereals maker Procter & Allen is backed by 18 shareholders, most of whom could easily qualify into Kenya's exclusive club of billionaires. Yes, so some of them are Evans Kidero, Charles Nyachai, who's looking to be IEBC chairperson, John Ngumi, who's I think now the chairman of Safaricom, and Isaac Awondo. This paper also turns 18 today, Business Daily, so they have a special report from pages 14 to 17, a journey of faith, grit, and outstanding journalism. On the ticker, why auditor doubts Treasury will recoup a 55 billion shillings KQ loan. As well as some KQ iko na profits. Repayment of 55 billion shillings accrued state bailout loans and interest to KQ is uncertain. Auditor General, once again, Nancy Gathungu has said, citing contractual loopholes. Court back sacking of bank staff for lending to family friends. SKI, the Court of Appeal in Nyeri has endorsed a decision by the Consolidated Bank to sack one of its workers for lending her friend money. For lending her money to a family friend and earning interest on the same. A move that was viewed as business competition with a financial institution. So if you're working for a bank, you cannot lend someone and earn interest. You're competing with your employer.
Allah.
Yeah. Kenya to probe TikTok sexual content claims. That's the Communications Authority has launched a formal inquiry into allegations that popular social platform TikTok profited from sexual live streams involving children. Very unfortunate, but yes, nasikia ikifika masaa fulani ya usiku, ukiingia TikTok, hakukaliki. No kweli tu.
Twitter should be tamed as well. All right, tangalia masuala ya caricature. Okay.
Yes, continue, yes. So yes, this one is a People Daily, and we have Raila Odinga. Which way Raila Odinga here? He can be split 4 ways because there are 4 different groupings that are interested in him. Kenya Kwanza, there, represented by the president, is pulling his hand. Former President Uhuru Kenyatta on this other end. Watu wa Mlima and his team, Kalonzo, Karua, Eugene, and Gachagua. And then there's a new team here, Wanjigi and Gen Z. Mbona Gen Z wanawekwa na Wanjigi? Everyone wants Raila Odinga.
But Gen Z wanamtaka kweli.
Hata Gen Z wanamtaka?
Tutauliza.
Walimwambia kae nyumbani kusikia. That's a People Daily.
This is Daily Nation. Moto pale kitu inapikwa hapa ya 2027 election. But we see notable people, DAP K party leader there, Eugene Wamalwa, that is Matiang'i. This is a caricature here of President William Ruto. This is a caricature of the president of former premier Raila Odinga. Lakini somebody here anawaza kama should I really? Is it David Maraga?
And that's a new face. Should I really? Ameguza hivyo maji hivi asikia inaweza kuchoma.
Ni moto.
Lakini amesema nikipata. Hebu ngoja muone vile nitaonyesha, nitanyosha.
All right. This is the Star. Nusu mkate. The politics ya nusu mkate pale. Nini hii inang'ang'aniwa hapa na former DP.
Uyashashikwa na trap ya mouse. Unajua zile mitego alikuwa amesema ataweka State House imemshika yeye mwenyewe kwanza. Na kila mtu anataka hii mkate. Ndio rais pale anajaribu katakata slice. Akipimia kila mtu ni nani anataka hii mkate.
Haiwezi.
Raila amechukua nusu tafadhali.
Haiwezi. The Standard.
The cartoon on the Standard has 2 frames. Then and now. Talking about the health issues, then NHIF, lakini bado kuna jamaa hapo amefura, amenona, amevaa suti kubwa, anakaa tu kucheka, ameshika hiyo nini ya saa hii. Shif na Sha, mwingine amechukua na amepita naye ameenda. Alafu commentator pale anasema kufinish kumalo. Imeenda, as in then and now, the claims that there was a lot of corruption then changes nothing because corruption persists even now.
All right. Those are the caricatures. Today it's Feel Good Friday. We'll be having DJ Granite in studio today, and Bansi will be joining us later on, starting 8 a.m. all the way to 10. Alafu baadaye, we'll be having this conversation on accelerating action for gender equality. Of course, matters International Women's Day tomorrow with Dr. Festus Mukoya, Faith and Development and Social Cohesion Advisor, that is World Vision Kenya, and Teresa Otieno, Director Big Dream Program, World Vision KE. Kisha baadaye, at the same time, we'll be having Cheval Boss, a music artist. A packed show for you today. Of course, kama kawaida, every Friday we ensure that you enjoy it, even as you kickstart your day with us.
All right.
And State of the Nation.
Yes, the youth perspective today. Of course, we'll be looking at what the youth think about what has been happening this entire week. Saddam Gashie, SG Progress Plus Alliance, will be with us, alongside Miriam Katheo, youth advocate, Kabala Kile, National Deputy Chairperson, the People's Liberation Party that was launched last week, and Ken Babu, National Youth League President, Democratic Action Party Kenya, and also known as DAP-K. Do stand by for that after the break.
All right.
I'm 43.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water?
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have a pap smear done.
If you are 40, 45, 50 going upwards, once a year, please go see a doctor. Yeah, it's just for normal routine maintenance.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwa watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
for comprehensive information and education on your health. Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water.
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have a pap smear done.
If you are 40, 45, 50, going upwards, once a year, please go see a doctor. Yeah, it's just for normal routine maintenance.
For Africa's youth to debate issues and share ideas.
Africa's population is growing fast.
Why are we so religious?
What is the relationship between religion and corruption in African countries?
Young people have felt for the longest time that they were not part of the conversation.
And we want to find out why.
Poverty is poverty. It's not about where you come from. It's about trying to survive, and everybody's trying to survive. It doesn't matter what country you come from.
So I guess in a lot of ways we still have a long way to go.
It is not fair.
So yeah, looks like we're all ready for a fight, hasn't it?
You can watch all new shows and all new programs of the 77% right here.
All right, welcome back. You're watching Morning Cafe on TV 47 with me, Fred Indimuli. Time for us to take a look at the big dailies. Of course, Daily Nation, how governors burnt 6.6 billion on one side and they're demanding for more on the back page. Yet another handshake, Ruto 50%, Raila 50% on the Star, set to sign coalition agreement today. But then this, rewarding yes men on the front page of the Standard. I'll be talking about this with my colleagues from the radio end in a short while. Allow me to introduce my panelists this morning before I leave. Beginning on my extreme left, Saddam Gashie, the Secretary General of the Progress Plus Alliance. Karibu sana, Saddam. It's good to have you in studio. Miriam Katheo, Youth Advocate, also joins us this morning. Ken Babu, National Youth League President, Democratic Party Kenya, Democratic Action Party Kenya, DAPK. Karibu sana. And Kabala Kile, National Deputy Chairperson, People's Liberation Party. I'll be joining you in a short while. Wacha niingie pale radio kidogo. Tuzungumzie haya maneno, alafu ndarejea.
Yes men. Karibu sana Indibuli.
Asante sana.
Otherwise
otherwise ni salamu pia South Africa wanasema otherwise.
Yes. How you doing, my brother?
I'm doing great.
Uko fiti?
Kabisa.
What's the biggest story to you this morning?
Today we are rewarding yes men.
Okay.
And you've seen the Standard over the past few weeks vile wanakuja na 2-word, 3-word headlines.
Yes.
Very punchy.
Yes.
4-star brat na scam mpaka ambassador wa Kenya amekuwa summoned huko Uganda. Sasa leo wanasema rewarding yes men. Bunge mambo imegeuka. Wale walikuwa wameshikilia hivi committee za bunge zile kubwa kubwa kama budget and appropriations committee Ndindi Nyoro nje.
Yes.
Ndani nani? Samuel Atandi.
Ndio.
Wengine kule Senate wanatolewa nani ndani? Oburu Odinga.
Samuel Atandi ODM.
Ndio. Alafu kwingine kama Peter Salasia alitolewa ile agriculture committee. Amepelekwa ingine ya member services. Yeye anashughulikia watu wakula mandazi ya wabunge, watakunywa chai saa ngapi, mambo kama haya.
Amelalamika sana mtandaoni online.
Kasirika
ama wanataka letelete mwili.
Wengine huku Gathoni wa Mushomba ametolewa ile constitution implementation committee chair, sijui yako wapi sasa. Mwingine James Gakuya, huyu anakuja hapa sana.
Exactly.
Trade investments committee chair nje. Mushangi Karemba labor committee chair nje. Wengi wako nje. Kule Senate Senator wa Kiambu Karungu Athangwa alikuwa transport committee chair nje. Nyandarua Senator John Methula Manyele na ndevu nyingi alikuwa lands committee chair nje. Kirinyaga Senator nje from agriculture. Joe Nyoto education committee nje. Wao wote wametolewa. Ni wandani wa aliyekuwa naibu wa rais Rigathi Gachagua. Wote nje wanapelekwa broadcasting and library services, catering services, committees kama zile.
Okay, maybe kando na kuwa wandani wa mheshimiwa Rigathi Gachagua, maybe kuna kutoshindwa na kazi, walishindwa maybe?
Hapana, mtu kama Ndindi Nyoro makosa tu amefanya ni ati wakati wa ile impeachment hakujitokeza bungeni kupiga kura. Hakujitokeza kabisa, so his vote akaonekana huyu ako kwa fence. Wakasema hata wewe kiboko,
lazima ukule kiboko. Now the question is, kina nani wana replace?
Sasa kama Ndindi Nyoro, Budget and Appropriations Committee ya bunge, which is a very crucial committee of parliament, especially during this budget making process time. Ana replace na nani? Sam Atandi. Ule MP wa wapi? Alego Songa. ODM straight. So ODM wamechukua viti vingi vya wenyekiti wa kamati hizi.
Alright.
So wengi whatever and you see most people are being removed were mostly from UDA. Lakini wamekasirika waonani na rais kwa sasa.
Ndio maswali kichwani Mwashumbe amekuwa akiuliza hapa. Baba anataka kutuambia nini hapa mbele? Anasema kwamba I will give you the way forward soon. Anataka kutuambia nini ikiwa tayari nafasi hizi za parliament watu wake wanapewa, nafasi za waziri watu wake wanapewa, PS watu wake wanapewa. What is it that Baba is going to tell us about his way forward politically?
Mimi nafikiri ashatuambia.
Is his way forward clear?
Ashatuambia. Ukiangalia gazeti hilo liko karibu na wewe, The Star. Washasema yet another handshake. Ruto 50%, Raila 50%, ishafanyika. Lakini wanasema hii deal itasainiwa leo pale KICC.
Alright. So ni deal itakuwa tu wazi
kulingana na hiyo gazeti ya Star pale juu, anasema hii inasainiwa. This coalition deal is being signed today at the KICC.
So there's nothing new we're waiting to hear.
I don't think there's anything new. Kama bunge kushaenda hivi sasa, pengine tungoje
aseme tu officially.
Alafu pia zile nini positions za cabinet. Tungoje sasa.
Alright. Thank you so much Fred Ndemoli.
Asanteni sana.
Shukrani sana, wasalimia kule katika TV side. Watch live msikilizaji ndani ya TV 47 Dondoma gazetini inashikamana na Radio 47. Hapa ndipo sisi bado tunaendelea na Dondoma gazetini, kwa hivyo usitoke jamani. Hapo vipi? Lazima tuingie katika Taifa Leo. Kichwa wanasemaje kwenye Taifa Leo Mashumbe? Katika Taifa Leo wanasema kwamba dipeni urais muone, bila shaka ni kitu ambao wamekizungumzia pale katika What's Trending. Alafu wandani wa Ruto na Raila.
There you have it, a big headline here, rewarding yes men. It's a bigger discussion across the country, what's happening in Bunge. So yes, Kabala, did you expect this? And do you think it's going to have any consequences politically? The fact that now senior members of parliament, members of UDA, because they're still members of UDA, including people like Ndindi Nyoro. Budget and Appropriations Committee is a very crucial committee of parliament. Now it's going to ODM. At least, according to sources, it's going to Alego Songa MP Samuel Atandi. Do you think this will have political consequences?
We saw that coming, by the way. When the Mombasa meeting between Raila and Ruto was confirmed, when the Uganda meeting between the two was also confirmed, that's when, as members of Azimio, remember we had the deputy president, our party provided the deputy president. That's when we realized that our values, the values that we hold dear of liberating Kenyans, were thrown out of the window. And so that's why we, as a party, decided to leave Azimio. And I encourage our members, my friend here who are still there, to understand that our vision was to liberate Kenyans out of poverty. But now what we are seeing is that the ODM brigade is assisting the Kenya Kwanza government to liberate Kenyans into poverty. If you see all the members that have changed here, just read their political parties. Azimio is ODM, and ODM
yes.
is Azimio. So this is something, it started way back. And we expected it, and it will continue going on.
Okay.
And what this shall lead to is a Rutila ticket, a Ruto-Raila ticket. This is where it's heading
Rutila.
to. Rutila. This is where it's heading to.
All right.
So I encourage all members to understand that ODM is Azimio and Azimio is ODM. And this is a coalition that is going to be formed. And I've seen that it's going to be signed tomorrow.
Today, actually, according to the Star, according to the Star, it says the two are set to sign coalition agreement today. Ruto 50%, Raila 50%. Ken Babu, I'm seeing Peter Salasia is a member of your party here. I am a Furusha from the Agriculture Committee and now to the Member Services Committee, which is much smaller committee in terms of the weight it carries in the National Assembly. As a member of Azimio, what do you have to say?
First, let me just put it clear that we left Azimio.
Officially?
Yeah. As a party, we did leave Azimio.
Okay.
And maybe my brother had not received the memo, but I officially communicate that we left Azimio. Allow me to say that all these moves are just meant to benefit one person, that is Raila Odinga. Because anyway, when ODM benefits, it's Raila who's benefiting, because that has been his shop for the longest time. But what I would ask to say, I would like to ask, how are the people benefiting from all these things? Get that? You see, the president, as he stands right now, the president is at the mercies of ODM brigade, and he's given them the opportunity to actually take advantage of that situation. And that's why we are seeing people are talking now about the 50-50, and this government does not want or does not tolerate dissenting voices. If you ask yourself, why did they have to change the entire committees? I mean, why did they have to push out people like Nini Nyoro, people like Senator Methu, Karungo Athangwa? These are people who are pushed out because they stood with the populace. They stood with the rights and the feeling of the majority. And you see, this government has decided that they are going to do the wrong thing and keep doing the wrong things, but they don't want to be criticized. And that's why we are in a situation where if you criticize this government today on this panel, the next thing TV47 is going to show is where is Ken Babu. Get that? I shall have disappeared and nobody can explain where I am. You see, so those are some of the issues that these people who have been de-whipped, they were raising these issues, they were in the front line to ask questions, and now the government feels like, hey, you are in our committees, you are leading our committees, you cannot talk about this government, you cannot question this regime. And let me tell you, Fred, if you proceed this way, then we are going to get ourselves a problem. And that's why we as the opposition, we are taking the center stage, and we are committed, like he mentioned, to liberate this nation. And we are committed to ensure that the ills and the negativity of this government are put to the public limelight, so that when we reach at the ballot, Kenyans will ask themselves, do we need to suffer another 5 years the same way we suffered this time?
All right. According to the traditions of Parliament, not necessarily standing orders, according to the traditions of the National Assembly, some committees are reserved for either the minority or majority side. Some of these crucial committees, just to maintain the oversight role of Parliament. Now we're seeing ODM, which ideally still insists it's in the minority side, occupying those seats, yet the supporting government. According to that deal, we are seeing there on the front page of the Standard, Ruto will get 50, Raila 50. They are basically talking about positions in the executive, cabinet positions, PS positions, and such like things. Now, when we see this happening also in Parliament, do you see a risk there, Miriam?
Yeah, it's a big risk. Because again, like my colleagues have said, we are dealing with people who cannot take accountability for their action. So small criticism you're thrown out of the key, committees. This is a very big risk, because if we are going to deal with a crop of leaders that need to be, appeased, so that they can run the government in a way that, seems right to them, it's very unfair to the Kenyans. Because I mean, some of the people who are sitting in some of these committees, I'd really want to understand how qualified they are to even be there, to be giving opinions and stuff like that. It's a big risk. We are going down a hill, and I'm really hoping that all the voters in this country are watching this, so that when the time comes, we will make a sober judgment. Yeah.
Saddam, there's something happening that probably many people have not seen. We are deep into the budget making process.
Yeah.
For the very first time, we'll have a Treasury CS who's, for all intents and purposes, ODM. He was a ODM chairperson.
Yes.
Then we're going to have a Budget and Appropriations Committee chair, also from ODM party. They've never run this budget making process.
Yeah.
Do you think it is risky for ODM to carry that burden, given the kind of upheaval we saw with the budget making process last year?
Thank you, Indemoli. First and foremost, we are really in a mongrel kind of a setup. Unfortunately, today we find ourselves in the quagmire that the previous administration found itself. Unfortunately, this time round, it's the former deputy president, today the current president, that unfortunately he's setting the stage for the same kind of setup. Back to the budget making process. Unfortunately, today our parliament has just been used as a rubber stamp. We are struggling as the Kenyan populace to understand why the oversight role, especially in the executive, is being sidelined and just left alone to the opposition, of which they just don't have the numbers. The official opposition, to me, is still the ODM. Whatever is happening right now is just the president's need to have a political power balance. He can't do that without ODM. He lost Rigiji. So the Kenyan masses should wake up and realize that politics is about interest, and interest is a moving target. To me today, I still sympathize with the Kenyan population, since during elections, we only have one single day to determine the path that this country will take for the next 5 years. Unfortunately, that day has not been taken seriously as it should be. Today, we are having people's interest supersede the Kenyan interest. For example, it should be the Kenyan leaders who should be taking care of our interest. Unfortunately, it seems it is us who are taking care of their interest. Look at the SHA. Look at the education funding model. None of them uses the social health care authority, like to visit hospitals and get treatment either for themselves or their close families. It doesn't sit well for us, especially people who have come from humble background, from marginalized areas. Like, healthcare is a primary responsibility of the government of the day. So for me, it is a time for self-reflection. Kenyans need to wake up, smell the coffee, and realize that no one is coming to save us.
Okay.
Not today, not in the days to come.
Okay. Kabala Kile, could there be a silver lining, especially now that you're saying, because you worked closely with ODM, your party leader was Raila Odinga's running mate. So you understand the thinking that ODM and Raila Odinga has. Could there be a silver lining in having members of ODM now already running Treasury and taking over some crucial committees in Parliament? Probably it's a good thing that, okay, fine, now you believe in them, you are working together. Probably if they're running the Budget and Appropriations Committee, we're going to have a better budget making process this time?
I don't believe so. And who'll oversight who? That's the question. Because the reason why there's a balance between this system, how the people who crafted the Constitution are viewing it, is you can't have certain dockets, you can't have the government feeling, and there are certain dockets you can't have the opposition feeling. So if you're saying that you're bringing inclusivity, then where will you bring accountability? Well, how will accountability come in? You see, now, basically, the government, ODM has taken up two arms of government. They've taken up the executive. They are in there. You've said about Kinabadi, the experts who are shared. Now they've taken up Parliament. The second arm of government. Third, they're going for the judiciary. So who will oversight who? And you remember during the campaigns when the current president was saying that we're in a mongrel of a situation where the government is in opposition and the opposition is in government. That's exactly the same thing that's happening. And as if you're saying that we're going to have a better situation. We've already seen the BPS, the budget policy statement, and what they're talking about, how they perceive us to move in the next midterm, in the next 2-3 years. But it's not different from what the government did in the Finance Bill 2024. You see? So to me, this is just a charade. This is a coalition. This is power sharing. This is a co-presidency that's going on. It's even, we're in a worse situation than with a handshake, that people used to call it a handshake. Because at least the president then kept his executive, kept his parliamentary, kept his judiciary. But now this time round, we're not only sharing the executive, parliament, judiciary.
Okay. Plus, if at all we're feeling confused about the kind of past or governance structure we have, it could get worse once probably the details of the coalition agreement they come up with come out. We've seen previously the handshake, as he says, was not enforced with any legal structures. This time round, there's a push to have the NADCO report go through Parliament just to buttress all these deals and provide a legal framework for the same. With the NADCO report, there are things that could cause even more confusion, probably setting up of the office of the leader of official opposition and such like things. Do you see a risk that we are heading into uncharted waters, that if we are confused now, we'll be even more confused in the few coming months?
You see, Fred, the current situation, the situation that we are in right now, is understood by very few people. If you go deep in the villages there, people don't understand what's happening. You see, what we are having today, like you mentioned, we are having the government and the perceived opposition in bed, and what they are doing in that bed, we don't know. That's why we have the confusion that we are seeing. And President William Ruto, and like I said earlier on, is a lifeline is pegged on Raila Odinga as at now. And that's why he is going to do anything possible. In fact, even if he's told today that everybody in Rift Valley must contest on ODM ticket, provided that that's the only thing that assures him that he will get a second term, he will do it. Then, we as the people, now the Kenyans, the populace, we have a responsibility to come up, to stand up and ask questions, to stand up and keep check. Because the people, the assumed guys that we say that these are the people who will be talking, or the parliament, the minority side, they are no longer, doing that responsibility. And if you look at things keenly, you realize that even the parties that moved from Azimio to Kenya Kwanza, everybody, in fact, everybody, now parliament right now, we don't have the minority, we don't have the majority. We have a one parliament that responds to executive and the Capitol Hill. So they get orders from Capitol Hill and get orders from executive, the State House. Then that gives us a position as a people, not only the opposition side, but Kenyans. We have to come up and stand up for this country. Because if we don't, we are going to throw this nation.
Do you think the NADCO report could in any way improve the workings of this mongrel of a structure we have?
But the NADCO report was clear that we need to have proposals. One need to have the PCS. We need to have the official opposition. But you see, this government do not have intentions of empowering the opposition. So see, that's the only thing that might hold them from implementing the NADCO. Because if they decide to implement the NADCO, then they must implement the whole document and ensure that we have an official opposition office with a proper budget from the exchequer to keep the government at check. But then, do you think President William Ruto and Raila Odinga would want, unless they want to implement it and make Raila the PCS, and again the ODM takes the budget for the opposition? And if they are going to give the budget for the opposition where it should be, then I don't think they are going to have that document implemented as soon as possible.
But again, the other question is, creating positions to solve solutions, is that the solution?
But it could also work for you come 2027 with the kind of coalition you're forming. You'll need a broader executive, more positions to accommodate everyone.
If Trump is working so hard to get a lean government, why are we working so hard to expand and bloat our government? I've seen I just finished. I've seen you were talking about governors 6.6 billion. So once we bloat this, they need to be funded. So is that the solution that we need?
But you see, even the other side, the allied forces that are around Rigathi Gachagua, Martha Karua, if at all they come together and try to form a coalition before the next election, they would need something like the NADCO or proposals that were contained in the BBI for an expanded executive to allow more members to be incorporated in any form of government. Don't you think that it's beneficial to actually ensure that this NADCO report passes?
As at where we stand, because you're really treading on like very murky waters, I don't think it would be beneficial, because again, we have people who are so passionate about checking the government, but once this other government comes into power, they find a way to go back and get into bed with them. Actually, right now, as Kenya, I think the only standing opposition is maybe the control of budget and the Auditor General. And you're seeing how when they give their views, how it's bringing a lot of uproar. You have an MP saying that the audit report is not final. It should be brought to the Parliament for us to discuss. Discuss what, and somebody is not an auditor? This clearly, the people who are right now in this government are not people who want to take accountability for their actions. A lot of things that are happening are very unconstitutional. It's very clear it has been brought out to the public, but when they are checked, it's a thing of now control these offices. Otherwise, you're going to have, anarchy. It doesn't make sense whether they implement things or don't implement things. As long as you're dealing with a crop of leaders that can't take accountability for when they're really going downhill, we're never going to make out of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Saddam, is the reality of our politics is that post-election coalitions and pre-election coalitions are the order of the day. To ensure that they actually work and that there's a legal framework for them to base such discussions on, people feel that probably the NADCO route is the best way. Do you agree?
I want to have a different opinion. I tend to disagree. Whether NADCO, whether handshake, whether broad-based, for me, the question is beneficial to who? Is the common man in tandem with what the political class is doing? For me, it's just a way of looting more, whether they have more seats, whether they expand the government. It's just a way and a platform for them to loot more. The Kenyan masses, that is where I think people should come in first. Whether we like it or not, politics is about interest. And the Kenyan man and the Kenyan voter should wake up, read the room. The ship has already left the dock. Kenyans need to galvanize early enough, because unfortunately the political class already are doing so. They are preparing for them to either retain power or maintain power. There are only two reasons that the political class don't want to leave power: either to protect whatever they have amassed illegally and to stay out of jails. Kenyan masses need to wake up, because we have so many bright, brilliant people in this republic that have kept out of the political space. I want to go by the heading today of the IEBC, seeking to succeed Chebukati. If you look at the people who have fronted themselves there, they are people who are not of the best standard that we'd love the IEBC chair to have. We have political friends and people who are just there to just cater for the interests of the political parties. What is happening today? We have a small minority of the political class that are organized. Whatever we are lacking today, we have a majority, a disorganized majority. Unfortunately, when we came out, the young people, on June 25th, we said we were tribeless, we were leaderless, everything, but then the moment and the agitation then was accountability, good governance. We didn't need the extravagance and the opulence displayed by the political class. Unfortunately, it has come back again. So the Kenyan people, and especially the young people, this is a political situation. We need a political solution. Unfortunately, there are only two factions in this country today. There's the Rutila, as my friend put it, Ruto-Raila arrangement, and there's the opposition. The face of the opposition today is Rigiji. Unfortunately, we as the young people in this country feel that none of those two factions cater and are in touch with the ground.
Okay.
They haven't read the room yet. They are taking too long. And there is an opportunity for we young people to align ourselves politically. And unfortunately, the people who have come out to be the face and to be the the voice of the young people have been scattered and have all moved into different factions, either ODM or Ruto or DAP-K or I don't want to discredit these people or the parties, but my clarion call to the young people. We need an ideology.
Okay.
We need a social economic moment where we can have good tidings in this country which favor us.
Okay. And talking about young people, there's something that has been happening this week. During the Gen Z protests and after the June 25th events last year, a lot of what the young people were saying, they were against the finance bill, they were against public show of opulence by public state officers. This past week, we saw what President William Ruto did at a church in Roysambu. This was after, and last year after that clamor, we saw him declare a ban on state officers getting involved in public fundraising, including himself. Right now he says he doesn't see anything wrong with it, and he's leading this by giving 20 million shillings to one church and promising 100 million shillings more, plus even land that is public. We saw that pastor in State House yesterday. The Jesus Winner Ministry Bishop Edward Mwai at State House, Nairobi yesterday meeting the president. There's a lot of talk and chatter on social media about what will happen this Sunday and what's happening with the return of fundraising in church.
And they support it. Yeah, it's truly supported. Let me tell you, Fred, the problem we have is not civil disobedience. The problem we have is civil obedience. In the light of lack of transparency, lack of accountability, SHIF not working, pay, cost of living, Kenyans are still obedient to the whims and will and decisions of these leaders. I call upon the young people that let's exercise our civil disobedience. How? Let's visit these churches. Let's continue visiting this. And let's make it digital, by the way. Let's make sure that their emails will not receive any email. Let's make sure their phone calls will not stop ringing. Because that's the only way I think these people will listen. Because you see, the president last year, it was on 25th, I believe. 25th,
June 25th.
No, when he made the proclamations, just a few weeks after June 25th. But when you roll back, you find that in February 2023, Afraha Stadium, 100 million was spent for prayer day. 2 days later, on Tuesday, February the 14th, Nyayo Stadium, again, 50 million was spent, prayer day. Now, the other day, he's given 20 million, pledged 100, and a week before, just during that day, that week, I believe, maybe on Monday, we saw children in Baringo studying under a tree, the shade of trees. They have no classrooms, simple structures that kids can have an education, decent education. But what does the president decide to do? It is wise for him to give to the church. No, that's not a problem. That's not an issue. But what we're calling for is, why can't such donations, we remember the days of Moi, such donations were being taken to build schools, gabions. Why can't it be for a greater good for the society in terms of educating ourselves?
All right. But the political class appears emboldened. Last year, after all these declarations were made, one, politicians were banned from churches. We've seen a return of politicians in churches and funerals, openly so and without fear. Now they're back even carrying bands of cash. Does it mean that the Gen Z protests mean nothing now? That the fear that was then within the political class has faded away?
You know, Fred, let me tell you that the political class led by the president himself are trying to undermine the power of the young people in this country. And let me start by saying that the call for Ruto must go, for me, is a self-inflicted problem by the president himself. How? The president has ensured that he is constantly telling lies and not implementing the promises he gave Kenyans. Number two, the president has ensured that he's constantly trying to implement policies that are not people-friendly, regardless of how people feel about them. And the president has ensured that he is ruling this country with an iron fist to an extent that if you oppose or if you talk anything against this regime, you disappear or you become a guest of the state. And that's why Kenyans decided that this guy must go down to history as the first president to go one term, and he will go one term. Let me tell you, Fred, Pastor Moi's church is not far from the CBD. In fact, looking at the location of that church, from town, from Thika, from everywhere, it's at the center, you see? And today is Friday. We're just one day to Sunday. We are going to worship in that church.
Well, and what would your intention be to go worship there?
So that we get to see what is it that is special in that church that they deserve 20 million that the students in Baringo should not get. We are going to see what is it that is special with Pastor Mwai that the president can carry 20 million and give him, whereas doctors in turns have not been paid. What is it that is special in that church that should be given 20 million while we are in a situation where Chief and Shah is not working, but the presidency has decided not to take action on it? What is it that is special in that church that is, that is not special about young Kenyans who are abducted and disappeared and just to appear at City Mortuary? You see, so we are going to worship in that church, and we will worship peacefully, but at the end of the day, we shall put a communication. Let me ask you, Fred, we are over 60 years after independence, and we are still talking about poverty. We are still talking about look at the education system. It has been reduced into nothing. Today, if your family cannot raise certain amount of money, I'm telling you, and you have 5 kids, out of 5, only 1 can manage to be at the university. And by the time that young person goes to the university, whereas you as a parent, you are done. Because you are going to use up to the last coin to ensure that this young kid is in the institution. That is because of the failed policies of Kenya Kwanza regime. But if you see our students, our sons, and our brothers and sisters on the streets agitating for this policy to be revised, they are tear gassed. Yesterday we had the doctors in turns demonstrating at Afia House, and they were tear gassed. You see, the challenge we have this government is one: too much chest thumping with little action and little implementation of what the people are asking for. And that's why Kenyans get mad every day. And let me tell you, if you walk outside there and just ask questions randomly, everybody is mad about this government.
Okay.
And yesterday I saw somebody saying that people are throwing arrows towards Dr. Baraza Mulongo and saying that, oh, she's old. The truth is, our health system is in mess. Okay. We cannot sit here and keep quiet and celebrate that, oh, Mulongo, whereas our relatives, our friends are dying in hospital because this system is not functional.
And we'll come to talk about that, but on this issue about the donations in church, let's go back to that, Miriam, for a bit. Do you think that the president's latest action could be enough to reignite the kind of protests we saw last year? Because one of the things that the Gen Zs were clear about was that show of opulence had to stop. But it would appear that between then and now, that discontent probably faded off, and we no longer hear much of that. Are we saying that now with the president's action, we could see a revisiting of what we saw last year?
Yeah, of course, there could be a revisiting of the same, because we are looking at a classic example of someone who preaches water and goes back and drinks wine. Because if you're going to champion for people not to give donations in church, we expect that you'd be the first person who will cut that out. And there's a proverb from where I come from that says, when you go to the market to sell your old bull, you don't go back home with an old bull. You buy a calf because it has more energy and has, you will train it in better ways so that it will help you with farming and everything you need. What you're seeing here is these people are used to, going through churches, fundraising for them, doing such acts so that they can, get into the minds of the voters. I urge the Kenyans right now, it's the time to embrace young calves, unsung heroes, because when you look even at the people who are actually driving real change in society without giving, too much to the churches or, such things. We don't have a problem with people donating to churches. If they donate to churches and make sure that these other things that Kenyans are crying about are attended to, there wouldn't be an uproar about why are you giving 20 million to churches? Why are you giving 100 million to churches? No one would really question about that. And if you'd allow me, I'd actually point you to the direction of an unsung hero, a very young man Scholar Dr. Vincent Munyoki, doing the works. He's a young person. The old political class is not embracing him. Why? Because he's not using these old ways of trying to get to voters. And again, just like my friends here said a few minutes ago, these people are not reading the room. People now are woke. People are aware. We see through their stuff. We know he's going through the churches to try to get to us.
People are woke. We saw that last year. We saw a lot of discussion around the Gen Z, what they were going to do, the threats they were going to do, what they were going to do to the government, the changes they were going to effect. But to the appear, it was all for nothing. Or was it, Saddam?
Well, we cannot say it was all in vain. It really took us, it was a Damascus moment in this country. It is historic. It will go down in history as the moment where young people of this country took the political class head on. It has never happened. There's an unfortunate sense of entitlement in the political class, where you find utterances maybe by Junet or by Mheshimiwa Kiborek, where these utterances border on tribal inclination and tribal arrangement. Unfortunately, we have a situation where the old guards and the old political class are trying to do the 2027 arithmetic along regional and ethnic balkanization. Unfortunately, it won't work, and it was evident during the Gen Z protest. As young people, us as the Progress Plus Alliance, we are anchoring on solutions. What do we do to get it better? Do
you get the feeling that probably the political class has moved on from that fear of the Gen Z? That Gen Z was a 2024 issue. This is 2025 heading to 2027. Your story, Lisha.
The political class is gaining some sense of confidence by bringing Rao into the Rutila arrangement. His Excellency feels comfortable since with Rao on his side, he somehow has able to slow and puncture the Gen Z movement, as it was really becoming a headache to his administration. But that's not the case. For me, I feel people are aware. The sense that Rao was the alpha and omega, and his stand was unquestionable, and he had the final word in the political class, now is long gone. Unfortunately, they are still plunged in the politics of yesteryears. In this coming general election, there will be new young faces. And for we in the Progress Plus Alliance, we want to offer this home to new ideologies. I'll give you an example. The president of France, Macron, is slightly, I think, over 35 years, if I'm not wrong. We have the president of Burkina Faso, I think, Traore. He's almost, I think, over 30. So the young people of this country, we have what it takes. Unfortunately, the old guards have put it upon themselves to elbow us, to put a ring fence in the political space that no young person can be able to access the political and the leadership mainstream of this country.
And I need to correct you there. Emmanuel Macron is actually 47 years. He's an old guy. Okay. But back to this issue of the Gen Zs. Because the feeling is that the political class has found a way to pacify the kind of uprising or upheaval that we saw last year. We're getting into the budget-making process, which should have been causing a lot of jitters for the establishment, given the events we saw last year around the same process. But there's a lot of confidence this time round, even ODM feeling very ready to take up that process and carry the burden. Do you agree that probably the Gen Z, as Saddam said, was punctured by these political realignments, and their voice may just be...
The purported leaders, maybe.
But the voices are not, and they're no longer being heard.
No, but the movement is still there. The purported leaders could be, but the movement is still strong.
But you can see politicians going back to church and giving money back to church.
Yes, the strategy, and
without consequence.
And you've had people will go and worship. And after you've had people saying they'll go and worship, you've seen all the hulabaloo around, what do you mean you're going to worship? That shows that the power of the movement is still there. Now, if you listen to people in Parliament wanting to gag the media, wanting to gag social media, why? Because the power of the movement is still there. What they're doing, they're just trying to, they're controlling their own youth league members, but not the Gen Z movement.
When will it come to a point where this Gen Z movement can take a form or shape that can be seen, that can offer leadership?
But friend, that's what the institution wants, because this institution is used to working with an individual. You had, I hear people these days saying that you're aiming at, the only target we have now is William Ruto. Then when you're aiming at William Ruto, sometimes Raila comes. So he confuses you. Now that's what they're used to. Divide and conquer. Make sure you create a group, a Gen Z, anoint a leader, so that now you can say that this is the Gen Z leadership. But you know what? That strategy has changed. As they said, they're leaderless. So as much as, Fred, you keep asking the question of when they'll come together, they are together. The issue that you're looking for, that particular leader that you're looking for, you will not find them.
The question is, the Gen Z movement or the youth of this country appear to have made so many gains last year, and forcing a president to reject a finance bill, forcing the president to disband the entire cabinet, forcing the president to seek new alignments, forcing the president to ask his allies to stop politicking in churches and showing off their opulence in churches. But all these gains have been eroded in a matter of few months, 4, 5, 6 months. That's a question and that's a concern. Are we saying that, okay, fine, we'll continue eroding any other gains that we made and the Gen Zs cannot say anything about it?
Let me tell you, Fred, and I want to repeat myself by saying that the president and the political class of this country right now is undermining the power of the young people in this country. Let me tell you, you see, when Gen Z movement came, nobody knew, nobody had anything in their mind of, oh, there is some kind of leadership or something. It was amorphous. And it was out of inside pressure that the government was now overspending, extravagance, corruption, get that? Disappearance, you see, those were the issues. Church donations, you see. After that, the president toned down, and the executive and everything, political class went down kidogo. But as you are saying, it's true, these guys are now coming back to their normal setup. But that does not mean that the young people have given up. After all, everything done and said, if people are to die in terms of age, all those people you are mentioning in the political class will die and leave this country for us. So it's about timing and opportunity. We are watching. And we made a decision, we made an agreement that President William Samoei to sort out the problem of this country, number one, the first call to action is to make the Kenya Kwanza regime a one-term regime. Get that? And we are geared to that. You've mentioned that some people were adopted into other camps or something. Let me tell you. You see, me, I've been in the political space. I'm a young person, but I've been in this space for some time. Those people you are mentioning are less than 7 months old in the political spectrum. They are enticed with, oh, you were in chopper with somebody, oh, you were doing what. Those are very little. When you go now to the ground where people are facing the real problems, that's where we are. And that's where the movement started. And that's where it's going to start. We are starting on this Sunday with Jesus Winners Ministry. That will be a communication to the ruling class that it is not business as usual. We must get a proper explanation on why that 20 million was put there, and for what reasons, and why did that 20 million not taken to social amenities in Baringo and discuss issues of she and Sha. Finally, let me tell you, our eyes are now geared towards the issues of IEBC. Because no matter what we are going to say, if you want to remove this regime, it will happen at the ballot up to now. Get that? Our eyes are geared towards the issues of IEBC. And we are waiting for that commission to be populated. And I know it is the intention of government, and they are planning to ensure that the IEBC is underfunded so that they don't have the necessary resources to conduct voter registration, civic education, and border delimitation and everything they should do. That is where the problem is going to start. And if Kenya Kwanza regime can make that mistake, they will see something bigger than what they saw on 25th June. In fact, this time round, it can end at their doorstep on the House of the Hill.
All right. Well, we're still watching Morning Cafe on TV 47. A quick look at the dailies today. Yes, men rewarding. Yes, men. Yet another handshake. Ruto 50%, Raila 50%. And I think this is what is going to dominate the discussions throughout the day. The two, according to the Star, the two are set to sign the coalition agreement today. Let's take a short break. We'll be back with more.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's mind. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth, as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water.
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have.
Welcome back. You're watching Morning Cafe on TV 47. With me, Fred Indimuli. We continue looking at the headlines and the big discussions with my youth panelists, Saddam Gashir, Miriam Katheu, Kabala Kile, and Ken Babu. Just before the break, Ken, you mentioned the issue of IEBC. I know the headlines today across talking about, and as far as IEBC is concerned, are talking about the candidates and the shortlisted people, individuals who will be seeking to occupy the position of chair of the IEBC. But there are concerns, the one you raised, Ken Babu, about the budget hurdles for election and the IEBC that is yet to be reconstituted. It is one of the stories that we worked on here at TV 47. Let's watch this story on the IEBC budget hurdles for election, then we come back and discuss it.
Appearing before the National Assembly Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, IEBC CEO Hussein Marjan Hussein told the committee that the commission requires at least 536 million shillings to cater for different by-elections, voter registration, as well as licensing and repair of the KIMS kits, though MPs raised pertinent questions on the activities by Secretariat ahead of the process.
And you indicated in your remarks that you have done so many things with regard to delimitation of boundaries. which are these so many things that we have done in respect to the limitation of boundaries? Because the excuse has always been, we don't have commissioners, and therefore we cannot be able to do what we're supposed to do.
Then you're asking for 486. Why will you not remove the balance remaining in that vote? Because it is for voter registration, isn't it, that vote? Then you say that you need 486 less whatever you already have.
I want you to consider allocating the commission 50 million for licenses for kids maintenance. This is in preparation for the upcoming by-election. Immediately the commission joined.
Marjan and his team further informed the lawmakers that to conduct the 14 elections in the constituencies and wards, they will require at least 450 million shillings. They assured the committee that the elections could be delivered by October this year, provided commission is in place by June.
We have commissioners in place. And when I say ready is, if we have commissioners in office by mid-June 2025, earliest date when we can have those by-elections is when?
Them it will be around 450 million to conduct the by-elections. And this is based on the estimates for the polling stations, because like I said, we have already prepared papers. We are only waiting for them to come. These papers have been prepared. Once they come, we present to them. We have got previous experiences in terms of costing for the by-elections.
Meanwhile, the journey to the 2027 polls has commenced as the IEBC selection panel has shortlisted 37 individuals for the chairperson position, comprising of 6 women and 31 men. 3 of the candidates are persons with disabilities.
And we actually have some questions for you.
Former Chief Registrar Ann Amadi, former East African Court of Justice Judge Charles Nyachai, former IEBC CEO James Oswago, Kenya Power Board Chairperson Joy Brenda Mudivo, former Nairobi County Clerk James Ngwele, and lawyer Duncan Ojwang are among the 37 individuals shortlisted for the position of chairperson of the Independent and Electoral Boundaries Commission, IEBC. Oswago has been shortlisted despite being found guilty by the courts for the irregular award of 1.3 billion shillings tender for the supply of voter materials in the 2013 general election. Homa Bay County leads with the highest number of applicants for the chairperson position, followed by Bungoma, Kisii and Trans Nzoia. The Nelson Makanda-led selection panel is expected to complete its mandate within 90 days, as outlined in the Constitution, with the new chairperson and the commission anticipated to be in place by next month.
Thank you for coming.
The delay in reconstitution of IEBC has affected a number of wards as well as constituencies. Now these Kenyans are pegging their hope in the ongoing process to get their representation in the bicameral house. Elizabeth Mutuko, TV47 Palm Buildings, Nairobi.
All right, that's my colleague Elizabeth Mutuku with that story about the IEBC. Issues around budgeting, Miriam. Last week, the same IEBC told Parliament that towards the elections of 2027, they would need a cumulative of about 61 billion shillings, which is quite a huge amount. Probably we have the most expensive election. But looking at the voter registration, and the hope is that the IEBC will net another about 5.8 to 6 million new voters. Ken Babu here expresses concern that that could be targeted in voter suppression methodology to ensure that the 6 million or so new voters don't get to register. Do you share those concerns?
Yeah, I definitely share those concerns, because it's quite unfortunate that you'd want to frustrate such a process. Yeah, we have to be honest with ourselves. Based on how our constitution is structured, how people get to power, how governments come into power is through elections. This is a very crucial process that needs the support of the government. So by them trying to cripple the IEBC by underfunding them, clearly you can tell they're not being objective with this particular process. So if at all any ounce of them is honest about caring about our country, they should be very deliberate in giving the IEBC the support it needs. This 100 million that you're shoving down to churches, how about you donate it now? You forget about funding churches, you gear it towards, IEBC mandate and everything they're trying to do. These things that you're seeing about the, allocations in the budget, you're seeing offices that are having overbuffs in their expenditure. How about you adapt other new priorities right now? We are trying to empower the IEBC so that our elections or the whole process is quite seamless. It takes, accountable and honest leaders to see that, here there's a gap. At this particular time, it's not the right time to be, channeling more funds towards, recurrent expenditure. How about we first empower this organ of our, administration so that the elections happen in a seamless way.
Okay. If at all they're successful and they get to register the 5.8 or 6 million new voters, the voters register will blow up to about 28 million. By 2022, it was 22 million. We saw only about 15 million people at most came out to vote. A huge bulk of those people who never showed up to vote, despite registering, are young people. The same young people who are now saying that there are 6 million more of their like who need to register. Is it a fact that if they register more of them, they will show up to vote? Or is it just some exercise in futility, spend more money registering without consequence?
This time around, I think it will be different. The Kenyan masses are really eager for the ballot. They want to do a ballot revolution. The 6 million young people need to be given an opportunity to register as voters. IEBC needs to be empowered. Unfortunately, I don't know if the window for other peoples to join in the race to become the IEBC chair and other officials is closed. But if it hasn't been closed, I would encourage young people of good standing to make sure that they make their way there and try and clinch some of these positions, because they are equally very important in ensuring that democracy prevails. Back to the numbers. 78.5% of the masses today are between the ages of 18 to 35. The average age of Kenyan today is 19, meaning we have a very populous young Kenyans who are very educated and much more informed.
But also very lethargic when it comes to voting.
Yeah, previously young people haven't felt the need and the urge to come out and in their numbers and determine the destiny of their country politically. But I think that has changed with time, since people have realized politics affects every aspect of our lives. That's why you find very young people in the streets and protesting and picketing to ensure that we keep the government of the day in check. You see, in politics, life is a conveyor. It has it's a conveyor belt in itself. We cannot be having the same old guards, since politics in yesteryears, people who have been there in that space for the longest. I don't want to mention names, but it doesn't sit well. For example, when you have, for example, the sports docket, the sports ministry, being headed by someone who has never participated in any sport in this country. The CS today, Salim Vuria, I don't know what sport he actually participates in. So some of these dockets need to be devolved and to be meant for young people who are actually in that field. The other thing maybe needs to be taken clear attention and mandate is the issue of the people that actually will be on that ballot. For me, that's the most important thing, because for we, the young people, we might do it very well to protest and to picket and articulate issues, but if we don't come out in our numbers and ensure that we vie for these political positions, it will be an exercise in futility. Unfortunately, we young people are not being given an opportunity, especially in the political parties, because you just need to have a political party for you to be able to be at the ballot. For we in the PPA, Progress Plus Alliance, we are encouraging young people to come and be part of a political, because a political process needs a political solution.
And I hear a lot of that, especially from you officials of political parties, that we're encouraging young people to come over. Yet the risk of this voter apathy from young Kenyans still remains real heading to 2027. There's always a feeling that, this is not our game. We tried in 2024, see where it got us. Till now, nothing has changed. That kind of apathy may persist till 2027. Do you feel that concern that actually this voter apathy may still persist?
No. But
what is so
before I-
different this time round?
Give me the benefit of doubt, Fred. This guy is.
You're
this
just hoping. You're just hoping that they will show up.
This 5 million, most of them are first-time voters. Very few people going out and vote the first time they register, because there are certain issues that draw you out to go and vote, and the system and the institution keeps the voting process so tedious and bureaucratic and long that as a young person you don't see the value of going and sitting in the sun. But as the government always says, they need to be given solutions. I'm here to provide them with one. Instead of always thinking of budgeting, simply we've just seen that's 450 million for 14 by-elections. That's 32 million per election. Now they're saying they need another stash of money to register voters. Why don't we just go the Israel way? When you're a Kenyan, if you're a Kenyan and you get an ID, you register as a voter.
You know, in this situation, yes. But between now and 2022, that would
no,
require
this is a solution.
something different, yes.
They keep saying that we always criticize. The opposition always criticizes without providing solutions. Here's a solution I'm providing right now. And if they follow through, this will be done within a few days. You see? But now when it comes to voter apathy, yes, the bureaucracy behind and the long process of voting is what keeps young people away. But let me tell you, this time round, wameumia, na tumeumia, na tumechoka. Hiyo jua will go and sit there in the sun. Kama it means that I line up at 4 a.m. and I'll vote at noon, I will. To remove who? And I
still don't get that feeling because there's this urge by young people that they will take part in the ballot come 2027.
I'm in a political party, Fred. They come, young people. And the most interesting thing is that they tell you, listen bro, mimi sitaki kujoin chama. Some tell you, some are open, they tell you, mimi sitaki kujoin chama, mimi sitaki kusimama. I just want to vote. And how do I vote? Remember another thing that IEBC mandated to do is civic education. Have you seen any booth, yes, IEBC teaching people how, or telling people come and register here, this is how you register?
So who now will carry that?
The political parties, that's why I'm telling you. They come and tell us, bro, please assist me. How can I be
You're
active?
also from a political party. Do you have the capacity to carry out proper civic education to ensure that there's no lethargy when it comes to elections?
Actually, let me tell you, as a Democratic Action Party of Kenya, we don't just have the capacity, but we are already action. We are taking action to that. Recently, we were doing our grassroots elections, and we made it practical, similar to what happens in general elections. Young people, we advised them, we had engagements with these guys, and they were at the polling centers that we had established as early as 6 a.m. And they were there lining up to the last minute, because we took that direction as a party to tell them and show them that this is the same situation that we are going to go through to ensure that this regime goes home. Because you're not just going to wake up one day, at 6 a.m. and vote and go back. You might be at the polling station at 6 a.m. at the time of opening, but you are number maybe 300, you get that? 400. Then you have to endure patience and persevere with an agenda that KK regime must go home. Let me tell you, and when my brother was talking, he mentioned something to do with young people, the 5 million votes, and 6 or so. These are people who, most of them, have never interacted with the political process. And their first political interaction was to reject this government. Let me tell you, the bile under which these people are going to come up to cast that vote is so high. In fact, you know, I always say that these are people who have been politically virgin. And their political virginity was broken on 25th of June when they saw their colleagues being shot live and dead. And they know the people who perpetuated that level of killing. I'm telling you that this young generation are committed. And like he mentioned, these are the conversations we get. People come telling you, Bana, can you just give me some enlightenments on what I need to vote and how I should go about it? In fact, there's a fraction that are only willing to vote for presidents. They don't have any problem with MCS or something. They just want to change the system from the top because anyway, the fish rots from the head. So look, as I finish on this, the issue of budgeting and the issue of IEBC, I want to tell you that there will be deliberate efforts to frustrate the IEBC, more so an issue of registrations. Because the regime as it is right now knows very well that if we get the 6 million new voters, Because the 6 million new voters are anti-government. You see that? They are registering because they want to change the system. Get that? So it is.
How sure are you there?
I'm telling you this. I'm telling you. But I've just given you a practical example. These are people who are politically virgin, and their virginity was broken on 25th.
And they all do not support this government.
They do not buy the ideas and the philosophies and the propaganda of this regime. Let me finish by saying this. We have been treated to realities of politics and what bad leaders can do. And today we know what bad governance can do. And today we are sure that it's not only about PhD for somebody to propagate good governance. And therefore, it is a clear manifestation that the youth of this country and even the working class, there's a group of working class who are just holding their silence because they want to put something on the table for their families to eat. But when that bell will be rung and they say, okay, now mark time and go, I'm telling you, it will be massive. Maybe you yourself, you will get out and do what you should do.
Miriam, do you share in that hope? Are you confident in this commitment by the younger voters or the younger generation of their involvement in the coming elections?
I think there will be a great involvement by the youth because, Fred, you'll agree with me, most of the things that the government is doing right now is also really working against the young people. There are people who are freshly getting into the job markets and they're getting frustrations from the big cuts in their pay slips. We're looking at a government that, did not honor the capitation thing to schools. Parents are complaining. The people in the university know how it's been hard, and you're aware of how they were revising the funding bans and stuff like that. These are people who are actually directly affected by the doings of this government. So I have comfort that these people will show up to try and make a change. And I mean, if really this government wants to come back, it's so easy. They just need to listen to the people, do what they need to do, and honor their promise to the Kenyan people. It's not a hard game. It's only that you're dealing with people who are, so, for lack of a better word, they're greedy and they're just there to serve their own interests. And we can see through it as a young people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, Saddam.
Yeah, I would love to come in on the issue of voter apathy. For me, I'd love to dissect them into two. Either is it as a candidate or as a voter. I'll start with the candidacy apathy. Why young people are not coming up to take up leadership positions, especially on elective political seats, is because for you to be elected, you need to be associated with a particular political party. I can give you an example. You can go into the high seas for fishing. You have a boat, there are plenty of fish, but you don't have a net. You'll end up sleeping hungry or not getting anything since you don't have the prerequisite tools for you to get the fish. And in this case, the prerequisite tool is a political party. Young people always feel that political parties are people's property. I don't want to give examples here, but we know political parties. There are over 100 political parties in this country. Unfortunately, we have like only 5 or maybe 6 thereabout that are active. What happens to the rest? Because political parties have ended up being people's property. People use political parties to get grants, to get donations, where if you don't get the endorsement of the party leader, you are done. So young people exercise voter candidacy apathy with regards to them vying for political seats. Coming to the voter apathy as a voter, young people have shied off on the bureaucracy, on the long queues. It is not a very good of a process. You get tired, you can easily get hurt, you can lose your phone in the process of voting. So I think the IEBC should be very clear, ensuring that the process is seamless, it's more accommodative for the elderly, for the young people in this country.
I want to give, because I can see our time is up. Allow me, Saddam, I'll give you a chance, because I want to give everyone an opportunity for final words. Today I'm going to do it different. I can see you all represent different parties. I want you to sell your parties today in about 2 minutes. Why should I join the People's Liberation Party? Kabala, as you make your final comments.
Listen, use me as an example. I joined it 15 years ago, and the values that I hold dear, transparency, accountability, and honesty, are the same values espoused in the political party. And they've remained strong for the past, since 2006. So this is a party that stands and says, does what it says, and says what it does. So I welcome you all to the People's Liberation Party, the only party that will give you adherence to the Constitution. We will assure you adherence to the Constitution, because that's what we lack. And as a nation, and I complete, Fred, the mistakes of a beggar hurt no one but the beggar. But the mistakes of a king, the mistakes of a president, the mistakes of this co-presidency, the mistakes of Rutila will hurt all Kenyans, save for them. Okay. So don't let us disobey you.
Okay.
Welcome to PLP.
Thank you so much, TV47, and of course Fred, for hosting us. I want to take this opportunity to tell young people and Kenyans at large that the Democratic Action Party of Kenya, and from the name, it's the only party where action is in, where democracy is in action. And I want to tell you that this is the party of the youth, by the youth, for the youth. We call upon young people to engage themselves in the political discourse. Join a political party, and for this case, join the Democratic Action Party of Kenya, where you're going to get an opportunity to interact. There is no bureaucracy. If you want to engage the leadership of the party in your thoughts and ideas, many young people are, in this space are being blocked from engaging the party leadership and share their thoughts because of some fears. I want to tell you that this is the party where you will get the platforms to engage, and not only engaging, we are committed to ensure that young people of this country are heading up to the ballot by issuing tickets at a friendly basis, so that we encourage more young candidates and aspirants to hit the ballot. Changing this government calls for two actions. You vote and you contest. Thank you so much, and I believe that we are going to change this country and have a better nation for our future and our children.
Thank you, Ken. Miriam?
Thank you so much, Fred, for having me. Clearly, I'm the only one here.
You do not belong to a political party.
I do not belong to a political party. But what I'm going to say is that...
There are three here. At the end of the day, you might join one.
I am keenly shopping around to belong to a party. And I think I will belong to a party that is uniting all the generations.
Would you mind explaining to us why, up till now, you are politically woke?
Yeah.
You've never felt the need to belong to a political party?
Because when you look at most political parties, there is an aspect of political psychopathy, yeah? Where if my party leader is Fred, what Fred says goes. And, I'd shy from, checking him because I'd be afraid of losing my standing in the party. But like I said, I am shopping around. And maybe come next year or sometime in future when you're hosting me, I'll tell you maybe I belong to a party that is uniting generations. We are not against the old people, but as long as they, appeal to our interests and they have, sane minds, they are not selling psychopathy, we will be there with them. And we will stand united as generations. So, yeah.
All right. Thank you, Miriam. Finally, Saddam.
Yeah, thank you very much, Fred. First and foremost, as the SG of Progress Plus Alliance, I would love to invite people from all walks of life to come and interact with us at our party headquarters. They are in Kitengela, some place called Milimani. Our social media handles are at PPA254. Come, interact. Our ideology is social economic empowerment, where we had the first liberation, it was independence, the second constitutional, new constitution, the third one and the final will be the social economic empowerment, where young people have an opportunity to chart their way forward. Political problems need political solutions. Political parties are the only avenues to ensure us young people are in a position to engage these old guards, look them in the eye and ask them what they have been there and what do they stand for. We have people who are career activists who make money in each and every demonstrations. Ask them what they stand for. Nothing. They never contest because they know their sole responsibility is to loot and milk from these picketing and demonstrations. Young people, we need a political solutions. I invite you to PPA254 on all social media handles. Come, let us interact. We can only sit at the table with these old guards and look them and deliberate with them if we have a political party. There's no way I can engage, for example, Martha Karua, if I don't have a political party. Young people, we are tired of queuing behind this old guard and just expecting them to drop crumbs. After they have feasted the whole meal, they just give us crumbs. Whereas we have tuko na uwezo, tuko na nia, tuko na sababu. PPA, Progress Plus Alliance, is the new party. Young people come join as we ensure we make a stab at the presidency. My party leader will be fielding candidates from the presidency to members of county assembly. My party leader is going for the presidency. He's the only person that I can bank on.
Who's your party leader? Are you
Arnold Maliba.
Arnold Maliba is your party leader?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Saddam Gashie, Secretary General of the Progress Plus Alliance. Miriam Katheu, youth advocate who still does not have a political party that she subscribes to, but is shopping for one. Yeah. Ken Babu, National Youth League President, Democratic Action Party Kenya, DAP-K, and Kabala Kile, National Deputy Chairperson, People's Liberation Party. And by the way, congratulations for the launch last week. We were looking forward to congratulating you on the day, but you didn't show up.
Next to State House or plpkenya.com.
You're closer to State House than the rest.
That's 2027.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for your time at TV47. That has been the Youth Perspective, just to look at some of the stories making big headlines and big discussions this past week. Today, of course, Raila 50%, Ruto 50%, yet another handshake. That's a big talking point. The two are set to sign coalition agreement today. Whether or not that will happen, we'll wait and see. Rewarding yes men is a big headline on the Standard and on the Daily Nation, how governors banned 6.6 billion shillings on joy rides. That is on the front page. On the back page, they talk about Treasury and governors in standoff over 140 billion shillings. Apparently, governors want more money in the next budgets. Well, it is a Feel Good Friday right here at TV47. DJ Granite is in the house. Do stand by for that. Ano Dida and Bansi Kimuyu, the Weekend Q, will be taking over from here. My name is Freddie Ndimuli. Good morning.